It's just been a whirlwind. Every day still feels like January 7th, complete silence coming out of DC. I have to wake up every day, knowing that I'm going to go through that day without my best friend. And then when I go to bed at night, I go to bed with a gut punch, knowing that nobody in DC gives a damn about it. So I watch these sham, committee hearings, and the questions that I have. Why these 4 officers? They were clearly selected a long time ago. They were clearly reading off a script. For Christ's sakes, one of the guys read the word "coop." I mean, you're literally reading this. And then you got the crying and the tears and the crocodile tears. And then you got the big guy, whatever his name is, I can't even remember. But you look at, they weren't even smart enough to scrub his social media before they put him up in front of the world. He's got his Black Power fist up. He's got his Black Lives Matter, everything. I don't understand how this guy still has a job, because he clearly has a political bias. If he's talking all this smack and trash on the conservative Republican side, how can he be expected to defend them as needed? I mean, he even was joking about the fact that Trump had to get rushed off stage during an active shooter. He was joking about that. And that's when Donald Trump was still president. Donald Trump still had to go to the House. This guy was charged with being outside of Secret Service. This guy was going to have to protect him. How can he still be on the job? But the Capitol Police, they got a big problem. And I feel like once all these, it's going to take discovery. But once we start getting all this surveillance footage, and once it all comes out, they're going to have to either fire 2/3 of their, of their department, or we're going to get into where now we're opening up these satellite offices around the country. To me, that is because they know that they can't have these guys sitting in public eye and public view once they open that house back up. So they're going to have to move them somewhere. So obviously, there's other reasons, overreach of power, but I truly believe that these satellite offices are being opened up to push these guys so you don't see them at the Capitol anymore. We're living in Wonderland, man. Up is down, left is right. I mean, you have 3 or 4 congressmen, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Dr. Gosar, Louis Gohmert. They're actively supporting my wife and supporting our family. 0.5% of the 100%. So the other 99.5%, they don't give a damn. And I get tired of hearing them say all the time, who shot Ashli Babbitt. You sit in that house every single day. The guy that shot my wife is supposedly the commander of that area. You're going to try and tell me you haven't seen him at work in 216 days? Everybody knows who the hell did it. They just won't talk about it. It's all part of the power grab. And I mean, I have the benefit of, I carried a gun, Alex, for 10 years at the nuclear power plant. I was bound to the same use of force continuum that this guy is. I know where he got trained. He was down in Glencoe, Georgia. I know they follow the same exact use of force continuum, and he skipped every single step and put a bullet in my wife. There was no announcement of his presence. There was no, physical presence less than physical force. There was no use of impact weapons. My wife's hands were empty. She was coming through a door. Her hands were occupied with that door. She could have been grabbed from behind by one of those officers, or he could have walked out. I don't even care if he smacked her in the face. He just stood there off to the side. She never saw him. She never heard him. And he executed her on live TV. This is David versus Goliath. I mean, we need all the help that we can get. My wife gave her life for this country. She wrote a blank check multiple times going overseas to war for her life. And in the end, ultimately, she gave her life at the People's House. This is for every single American, whether you support my wife or not. You don't even know that this is for you too. This is for your liberties and freedoms. So it was back in 2015. I was working security at a nuclear power plant. Actually, I had been there for about 8.5, 9 years at that point. Ashli had gotten on with the new class, and I was down in like the bowels of this place, and it's just 120, 130 degrees. I'd been down there for like an hour. I came upstairs to the alarm station to get a drink, and the new class was in there. And the last thing I wanted to deal with So I just walked around, put my gun away, and was getting a drink, and here comes little old Ashli. Just, hey, you look like you're grumpy. I'm gonna make you talk to me, and I'll be damned, she did. And so as the months went on, she ended up on my shift, and we just hit it off. And fast forward to 2017, we decided to make life changes. Her brother was, her whole family's out here, so in San Diego. So her brother was working for this pool company, and he called talking about how they were selling the business. He was interested in just buying this small little portion. And of course, Ashli, always, 110% on everything she does. She's like, well, why don't we look at it and see if we can buy the whole business? She said it was one of the hardest questions she's ever had to ask me in her life. I came home from work and she sat me down and she's like, I want to buy a business and I've done the numbers and I think we can do this. And I just, I looked at her and I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. And at that point, I had already been through a dumpster fire of a marriage earlier, when I was in the military, and I swore I'd never get married again. And this girl comes around and just completely changed my life. So we uprooted, drove across the country, moved out here to San Diego, bought our small business. We were living a very idyllic life. It was beautiful. We lived 3 blocks from the beach, going to work every day. When I say we literally spend 20 hours a day together, it's not an underestimation. I mean, if we were apart for 4 hours, even that was kind of a stretch, but that was, I gotta work sometime. I mean, she was my best friend. She was the love of my life. So it was back, in January. We were still heavily locked down for COVID here in Comedy, California. So I had to make a gym reservation. You could only go at a certain hour. So I made one for 1 o'clock, and it was like somewhere in the 11 o'clock hour my time. I got a call. It was kind of random. I don't normally really talk to this person, but it called saying his wife had seen what she thought was Ashli on TV, and it looked like she had gotten hurt. So I turned my TV on, and it just happened to be on Fox when I turned it on. And the first image that I saw was my wife laying on the ground there, with blood coming out of her mouth. My original thought was, there's no way somebody fired a live round inside the Capitol. Maybe it was a rubber bullet that hit her in the wrong way, But I was forced at that point, because I started calling all these hospitals, trying to find her, and nobody would tell me anything, even to the point where my brother had called the DC Metro dispatch, and they yelled at him. The exact words were, "We didn't effing shoot her, stop calling," and they hung up on him. So I was locked in and forced to watch these graphic images over and over and over again, because I was getting no calls from anybody in DC at that point. I had to watch it. That's the only place I was getting updates, or could get an update on what had happened to Ashli. And then I heard the voice, and I'll hear it for the rest of my life, came over and said the woman that had been shot at the Capitol passed away. And everything went black after that. I talked to my neighbors after, and they said it sounded like a wounded, dying animal was inside my house, which I don't remember much of it. People, I looked up and there were friends that were in my house, and I didn't even remember them coming in. So yeah, that's. I watched my wife die on TV, and for a man to see, like I said, the absolute love of my life. It's been 3,000 miles away, but the TV was like a window to me that I couldn't get my hands through to comfort her, and to see the cameras in her face and the people in her face, and I know the last view that she had out of her eyes before the light was drained out was of strangers, and I wanted my face to be there to let her know you're gonna be okay and you're loved, babe. This fight is not just for Ashli. This fight is for America, and this fight is for our civil liberties and our freedom. And it's being ripped away from us in front of our faces. And the blatancy of it, they don't care. They think we're all stupid. They think every one of us is an idiot, and we're just going to go along with the flow and shut the TV off and not pay attention to what's going on. Stop paying attention to the mainstream news. Do your own research. Look deeper. There's a blatant cover-up going on at what happened at the Capitol that day, and my wife was public enemy number one on their list, and they took her out.